Hey Grandview family, nice to see you today. Today we're going to be talking about the egg itself. Before we start with the incubation process, what is it? What is going on? So here I have a diagram and it shows some of the pieces, and we're going to go over each of those pieces and what it looks like. But first, before we go over, I'm going to hatch an egg so we can see what it looks like. Now, these eggs are not the fertilized ones that came from the farm. These eggs are ones that came from a store. So I'm going to crack this egg here. It took many years of practice to become a perfect egg cracker. Oh, that's not so perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to transfer this into this plastic bowl to see if we can see some of the parts of the egg here. Let's see. There we go. All right. So you might have to come and look on the inside here. The first thing that I want to point out is you see this little white spot right there. That's called the germinal disc. And you can see it on the poster here, the germinal disc. And the germinal disc is on the egg yolk, and it helps the embryo during the very early beginning stages. Now, this egg was never fertilized, so nothing beyond is, what's going on there is what is actually going to happen. The yellow part right here is called your yolk. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Now, the chalice is part of the, well, actually, let me talk about the albumin. And if we take a look over here, there's a thick albumin and then there's the thin albumin. And the albumin is known as the white part of the egg. So if we look at our egg here, it's kind of that clearish part. You can see some on the outside is a little bit more clear, and then some on the inside is a little bit more darker. And what it does is it protects the yolk and provides protein to the embryo once it starts growing. So now we're going to go into the chalice, and chalice is part of the albumin. And if you look over here, you can see some chalice. And if you look over here, this white stuff there is considered your chalice. And what it does is it anchors the egg yolk to the center of the shell. And you have one on each side. It's kind of hard to see once I cracked it. And then you're going to see that there is also a membrane inside of the egg. And what that does is it's thin, super thin, but it's really, really strong. And what it does is it protects the chick during the development against any infections or diseases that it might get. So this is the inside of an egg. If I wanted to, I could scramble it up and eat it, or cook it sunny side up, either way. This is the diagram of what it looks like on the inside. Next, what I'm going to show you is what it looks from the inside kind of out. This is called a candler. And when I use a candler, I make sure that I'm in as much darkness as possible. The darker, the better. When you candle an egg, you're going to turn it on and you're going to see there's a light. And I'll show this in the darkness as well. And you're going to put the egg in. Now, you're not going to see anything right now because we are in bright sunlight, but in the darkness you'll be able to see some things inside of our egg. So we're going to take a look at what a non-fertilized egg looks like on the inside. All right, I apologize. The only room in our house that does not have a window is our bathroom, so I apologize for being here. But what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at this egg. Now, as soon as the egg is hatched, regardless of whether it is a fertile egg or not, the development starts with the egg. Then when it's taken away from the hen, that development pauses until you put it back into an incubator to heat them up. Once the egg feels that heat, then the embryo senses that and starts the growing process. All right, so this egg was grabbed from our incubator, and we are going to go ahead and candle it to see where it's at in the process. The egg has been incubating for about 4 days, 4 to 5 days, and every time I candle an egg, I always put a mark on it so I know which eggs I've candled, which eggs I haven't candled, because I want to make sure that I'm not always grabbing the same eggs. The less you move them around, the better. So while I'm getting this set up here, what you're going to be able to see is, if it's developing properly, is a little bit of a dark spot, and you are going to see possibly veins coming up. Now that means that the embryo is forming, and that's the earliest stage of development for the chicks. You'll also see more of a more visible air cell possibly. Now that air cell is usually at the larger end, so maybe we can try that and see how that looks, of the egg, and that's where the chick will turn as it develops, because when it needs to breathe the air, its beak, when it gets older, will poke through that air sac and use that to breathe as it is working on getting its way out of the egg. So I'm going to go ahead and candle this, and again, what we're going to be looking for is the start of the embryo's visible development, and a lot of people call those the spider legs, because you can see the embryo's blood vessels, which will become much more well-defined moving forward. Again, we're at 4 or 5 days. In about 6 to 7 days, we're going to candle all the eggs to see which ones are growing and are actually well on their way to becoming a chick. And in that case, we'll be looking for something a little bit different. We will actually be looking for the starting of an eyeball. True story. All right, here we go. So here what you see are veins. Some people call them spider veins, and the beginning of the embryo. And you can start to see this at about 4 to 5 days. And then you want to wait till 6 to 7 days to double check them to make sure that they are growing. But this right here shows that they are growing. And if you look over here, you can see the white on the bottom portion, and that's that air sac, and that air sac will continue to grow. But this is pretty neat right there. That's the beginning of a baby chicken. I'm going to show you a couple more and see what we can see. Now, the other egg we looked at was a lighter egg. Now, this is a darker egg, and the darker the shell, the harder it is to see on the inside. So this one's a little bit more harder to see, but here we have our red spot, and then we have our spider veins coming out from that red spot. So this one is also starting to grow. And at the very, very bottom here, you can really see where that air pocket is. There's another view of it that might make it a little bit easier to see. Hi, baby chicken. Or I should say, hi, baby embryo. So, yeah, so we've got our embryo starting. So if we come over here, you can't really see as much. We kind of have to rotate the egg so you can see where it is growing. Now, the embryos are going to typically start turning into baby chicks at the top of the egg, and they're actually going to be flipping themselves around so it's booty up, and they're going to poke their head down so that the nose, the beak, once it's formed, goes into the air sac, and then again they're going to use that to breathe when they're going through the hatching process. All right, so here is a picture of an egg. This is not a fertilized egg. This is an egg that we just took from our kitchen fridge, from the eggs that we purchased at the grocery store. And if you can see, you know, the top part here is where the yolk is. The bottom part here is where the rest of the egg is. And then you can see the little air sac down there. But you can tell there's not much going on. There's not any growth going on. So I'm going to switch one to another. So here we have a non-fertilized egg, and we have an egg that has been growing for 4 to 5 days. Quite a bit of a difference, isn't there? So, store-bought egg, nothing going on. And, let's see, little guy's kind of moving around on me there. And a fertilized egg. Big difference.